Hello again, second grade. Welcome back to our third literacy lesson for today. You guys have been doing so great. Earlier today we were working on our dash stroke letters, but we learned both of those, so we'll move on to our new kind of stroke that we're going to learn. And that is a tall line stroke. That sounds kind of familiar, right? Because we had our short line strokes. Well, our tall line stroke is pretty similar, except it's taller. So to make a tall line stroke, we start at the top baseline. Where do we start our tall line stroke? Good, at the top baseline. So we start at the top baseline and pull a straight line down to the baseline and then lift. So that's how we do our tall line stroke. You can practice making a few of those tall line strokes if you'd like. Remember, when we're writing, instead of going really fast and writing a lot, it's okay to just write a couple and write them beautifully when we're practicing. All right, so what kind of a stroke is this? Good, it is a tall line stroke. All right, now let's learn some tall line letters. This is our first tall line letter. It says ol. Class, say that with me, ol. Good, now by yourself. Excellent, ol. All right, our ol is a tall line letter so that we know that we're going to start at the top baseline. All of our tall line letters start at the top baseline, and we'll start close to our margin or the last letter that you wrote. Starting at the top baseline, we'll pull a straight line down to the baseline and lift. This is our ol. All right, this one's pretty simple. It's just that one stroke. All right, are you ready to write your ol? Start at the top baseline, pull a straight line down to the baseline and lift. All right, I want you to write it again, saying it while you write it. Great, now one more time, say it while you write it. All right, class, what did we just write? Good, we wrote an ol. Excellent work. Oh my goodness, I was a little bit sleepy earlier today and you could probably tell, so I went and got some coffee and I'm feeling better now. So hopefully I won't be making so many mistakes this time around. All right, our next tall line letter that we're going to learn how to write or review how to write is this. This says t. All right, say that with me, t. And by yourself? Excellent. T. All right, it's a tall line letter, so where are we going to start it? Right, the top baseline. And we'll start close to our last letter. We'll pull a straight line down to the bottom baseline and lift. Now to cross it, we're going to go just above our dotted line and just on the other side of our line stroke, and we're going to make a dash stroke in the direction we read and write. This is our t. All right, one more time, I'll talk you through it. We'll start at the top baseline, close to our last letter. Pull a straight line down to the baseline and lift. To make the to cross it, we'll go right above the dotted line and just on the side of our line stroke. And make a short dash stroke in the direction we read and write. This is our t. All right. So I want you to write two more of those. Say t while you're writing your t, all right, and make it beautiful. All right, good job on your first one. Let's do one more. Make sure you say it while you write it. All right, great job on your t. All right, the next tall line letter that we're going to learn is this one, and this says b. All right, say that with me, b. All right, by yourself? Good, b. All right, now this one, remember when I was talking about how our starting spot is really, really important for our d? All right, that's because a lot of people, if we don't start our letter in the right place, we'll get our b and our d mixed up. I think I told you I used to do that when I was younger because nobody ever taught me the starting space. But ever since I've learned the starting spaces, I've never messed it up again. So this is really important. All right, and so our b is a tall line letter. Remember our D is a clock stroke letter, right? Because my mouth kind of looks like a clock when I say D. When I say B, though, look at my mouth, B. It looks like a line, right? So that's going to help us remember B as a line letter and D as a clock stroke letter. All right, so for our B, it is a tall line letter, so we're going to start at the top baseline and we're going to be close to the margin or our last letter. So starting at the top baseline, we're going to pull a straight line down to the baseline. We're going to retrace up to just below the dotted line, curve in the direction we read and write, touch the dotted line, touch 2, touch 4, touch the baseline, touch our line stroke, and lift. B. All right, I want you to watch me do that while I talk you through it one more time, because this one's a little bit trickier. So we're starting close to our last letter at the top baseline, because remember, B is a line letter. All right, so we've got to start at the top baseline, and we'll pull a straight line down to the baseline, retrace to just below the dotted line, curve in the direction we read and write, touch the dotted line, touch 2, touch 4, touch the baseline, and we'll come back to touch our line stroke. This is our B. All right, I want you to get ready to write. Nice and straight, holding your pencil correctly with your writing spot, feet flat on the floor. All right, start at the top baseline, pull a straight line down to the baseline, retrace to just below the dotted line, curve in the direction we read and write, switches this way. All right, touch the dotted line, touch 2, touch 4, touch the baseline, and come back to touch your line stroke on 8. B. All right, excellent job. I want you to write that a B 2 more times, saying it while you write it. Make it beautiful and make sure you're starting it at the correct starting spot. All right, excellent work, boys and girls. Now let's see, let's practice. You're doing so well with those nonsense words. Pretty soon we're going to be able to start spelling words that aren't nonsense words, but are real English words, so that's really exciting. But let's practice with a couple more nonsense words. All right, the first nonsense word I want you to write is Riz. What's your word? Good, Riz. What sounds do we hear in the word Riz? Good, it's R, I, Z. All right. Remember, our phonograms usually say their first sound. So for Z, we would write the one that says Z instead of the one that says S, Z. Right? Because they usually say their first sound. So S, Z usually says S. All right, so one more time, what are we going to write? Good. R, I, Z. Go ahead and write it. Say the sounds while you write them. All right, now I'm ready to write it. Tell me what I need to write to spell Riz. Oh, and remember, I need to leave a clock space always before and after my words. What do I need to write? Good. That starts at the dotted line. What's next? Good. I. That starts at the dotted line as well. And what's next? Good. Z, which also starts at the dotted line, but with a dash stroke. All right, so make sure yours looks like mine. Sorry, there's a little bit of glare on the board. All right, now let's read the word that we wrote. Good. R, I, Z, Riz. All right, let's do one more nonsense word. Let's do med. What sounds do we hear in the word med? Good, the sounds we hear are m, d. All right, one more time, what are they? M, d. Good job. Now remember d. Where am I going to start it? Good. Over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. Great. Go ahead and write your med. Say the sounds while you write them. All right, now tell me what I need to write to spell med. Good, I need to leave a clock space. And my is a short line letter, so I'm going to start at the dotted line. Good, What's next? Good, Remember that one starts halfway between the dotted line and the baseline. And what's next? Good, d. Where does that start? Good, over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock, d. All right, if yours doesn't look like mine, go ahead and fix it. And now let's read our word that we wrote. All right, excellent job. Later today, we're going to go ahead and finish up our tall line letters, and I will see you then.